We were supposed to be back before dark. That thought kept echoing in my head as the shadows grew longer and the trees pressed in closer. What had started as a perfect autumn hike in the Appalachian Mountains had turned into something much darker, much colder, and infinitely more terrifying. There were 4 of us: me, Jared, Kelly, and Marcus. We were college friends, each in our late 20s, bound by a shared love of the outdoors. Jared was the one who always had a plan. He kept trail maps in his glove box and a compass around his neck. He read survival guides for fun. Kelly was the firecracker, full of energy and always cracking jokes. Marcus was steady and quiet, the kind of guy who didn't say much but always had your back. And then there was me, somewhere in between. I liked hiking, but I wasn't what you'd call prepared. I usually let Jared do the heavy lifting. We'd been talking about doing a serious hike for years, and finally made it happen in early October. The weather was perfect, cool, crisp air and skies so blue they looked painted. The Appalachian Mountains were ablaze with color, from golden leaves that shimmered in the sunlight to deep reds and browns carpeting the forest floor. Jared found a trail that was supposed to be off the beaten path, not on most standard maps. We'd have solitude, fresh air, and an incredible overlook to reward our efforts. We set out early Saturday morning, buzzing with excitement. Each of us had a light pack, some snacks, extra clothes, and water. Jared had a printed map of the area, a compass, a whistle, a flashlight, and a small first aid kit. We laughed and joked as we walked. Kelly took selfies every 10 minutes, Marcus hummed a low tune under his breath, and I soaked in the rustle of leaves, the chatter of birds, and the scent of pine. The trail started narrow but clear, winding through golden forests and over rocky ridges. We stopped to photograph fungi-covered logs and strange twisted trees. At one point, we crossed a creek with water cold enough to bite through our boots. Around noon, we found a quiet clearing near a stream and ate lunch on a bed of moss. We stretched out in the sun, the world peaceful around us. That was the last time we felt calm. After lunch, Jared suggested we take a short detour. He'd read about an old, unofficial path that led to a beautiful overlook just past the main trail. "It'll only add an hour, tops," he promised. We followed him without question. At first, the side path was clear enough. The leaves weren't as trampled, but we could still follow the trail. The overlook, when we reached it, was stunning, jagged cliffs overlooking a valley that stretched endlessly in all directions. We stayed there for a while, marveling at the beauty and taking photos. Kelly climbed a flat rock and posed like she was in a Patagonia ad. Jared checked his compass and pointed back into the trees. That's when things started to go wrong. We followed what we thought was the trail back. But within 15 minutes, the path seemed to vanish. The underbrush thickened. The familiar landmarks were gone. Jared frowned at the map and adjusted his compass, spinning in place. "This doesn't make sense," he muttered. We spread out a little, searching for the trail. Nothing. The more we moved, the more everything looked the same: bark, leaves, stones, branches. The sun was starting its descent behind the trees, and the light took on a golden, then orange, hue. That's when it hit us. We were lost. "Maybe we just circle back," I said, trying to sound calm. Jared shook his head. "If we keep circling, we'll just get more turned around. I think we went too far west." "You think?" Kelly snapped. "We're supposed to be out of here by now." No one said anything for a long moment. The panic didn't hit all at once. It crept in, like cold fingers brushing your skin. We didn't want to admit how serious it was. The map was basically useless without a known point of reference. Our phones had zero signal. Jared tried to climb a small ridge for a better view, but all we saw was more trees. Thick, endless trees. The temperature was dropping fast. The wind picked up, and the forest, once calm and inviting, began to whisper, branches rubbing together, leaves twisting in spirals, unseen things crunching in the underbrush. Kelly kept glancing over her shoulder. "We need to make camp," Marcus said quietly. We had no tents. No sleeping bags. This was supposed to be a day hike. Jared found a small clearing, and we built a fire using what dry wood we could scavenge. He used cotton balls from the first aid kit as tinder, and I sheltered the flame with my body until it took. We built a windbreak from fallen branches and sat close together, our knees nearly touching the flames. That night was brutal. The cold crawled through our jackets and settled into our bones. The fire helped, but it didn't stop the shivering. We had no way to stay dry, and every gust of wind carried moisture. Our water was nearly gone, and none of us had the energy to look for more in the dark. We took turns staying awake to feed the fire. Every sound in the forest set us on edge, a branch snapping, distant rustling, a low moan of wind through a hollow trunk. Once, I thought I saw something moving beyond the firelight. Not a bear or a deer. Something walking on two legs. But when I blinked, it was gone. No one really slept. The next morning, we were groggy and sore. Kelly's ankle was swollen. She twisted it on a rock during the hike back from the overlook. Jared looked pale. His hands shook as he tried to read the map. "If we head east," he repeated, "we'll hit the road eventually." We started moving. Slowly. Kelly limped. Marcus carried her pack and barely spoke. The woods seemed to shift with every step, like they were rearranging themselves. The sun was nowhere to be seen, buried behind a wall of clouds. Then the rain started. Cold, relentless rain that turned the leaves to slick traps and the dirt trail into mud. It soaked us to the skin in minutes. The firewood we gathered turned to mush. The few protein bars we had left were damp and crumbling. Our minds began to crack. Jared cursed at the map. Kelly went quiet, which was worse than her usual sarcasm. Marcus muttered under his breath. I focused on one step at a time, ignoring the blister forming on my heel and the cramp in my leg. When the wind picked up again, it brought a low, howling sound that didn't seem natural. That night, we huddled under a rock outcrop, wrapping ourselves in space blankets. They flapped in the wind like dying birds. We managed to get a tiny fire going, but it barely warmed us. Our breath came out in white clouds. Kelly started talking to someone who wasn't there. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. I started to cry. Quietly. So the others wouldn't hear. On the third morning, we didn't even pretend to follow a trail. We just walked downhill, hoping for something, anything. Jared dropped his compass. It broke. Marcus sat on a log and refused to move. Kelly had to slap him to get him to react. We were slipping. Then, by some miracle, we heard it. A low, mechanical rumble. At first, we thought we imagined it. But then it came again, closer. An engine. A chainsaw. Something real. We screamed and waved our arms. Climbed a ridge and saw a man in an orange vest cutting branches near a Forest Service road. He stared at us like we were ghosts. "Oh my God," he said. "Are you okay?" We weren't. We were cold, starved, dehydrated, half out of our minds. But we were alive. His name was Robert. He gave us water, called for help, and got us into his truck. He kept saying we were lucky. We didn't feel lucky. We felt broken. The Rangers took us to a nearby hospital. Kelly's ankle was badly sprained. Marcus had mild hypothermia. Jared had blisters the size of quarters, and I had a fever from exposure. We spent 2 days recovering, wrapped in warm blankets. Eating real food, sleeping without fear. The doctors said we were fortunate, that people had died in those woods for less. But I don't think it was fortune, I think it was stubbornness, and luck. And the fact that we had each other. Looking back now, I realize how stupid we were. We didn't have a GPS beacon. No backup food. No tarp, no water purification. We followed an unmarked path with no backup plan. We let our excitement override caution. Nature isn't a theme park. The woods don't care if you're cold or scared or hungry. They'll swallow you whole and move on. If I could say one thing to anyone reading this, it's this: respect the wild. Carry more than you think you'll need. Tell someone where you're going. Don't rely on your phone. And if things go wrong, don't panic. Work the problem. Stay calm. Think. Because once the forest starts closing in, your mind is your only way out. And trust me, once you're out of the green, you'll never forget what it felt like inside.
But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, maybe you'll get sick of being the monster out of my head, under my bed. Think you're something out of